Well, now let's talk about specific herbs, specific calming herbs. I think the most important of the specific calming herbs are the herbs that actually do more than band-aids. The herbs that are tonic, herbs that help restore your nervous system, herbs that help rebuild or are nutritive to your nervous system. So some of the herbs that are considered nutritive would be oats, Avena sativa or wild oats. It's the milky oat tops that people use. This particular herb of milky oat tops can be used on a regular basis. In other words, you can go ahead and take milky oats every day, and it will help strengthen your nervous system. So to me, it's very, very important to know which herbs are nutritive and to use them. And this is really good news. Milky oats is one, skullcap is another. Skullcap is one of my favorites. I often will put skullcap in a mixture, especially on a daily basis. In other words, if someone is going through a stressful time, they can go ahead and take whatever calming herb to stop that circular thought, to stop that tight muscle, to stop that stress. But if it's not going away, if it keeps coming back, if you want to help on a nutritive stance, then go ahead and use something like skullcap or Avena sativa, the wild oats, skullcap, scutellaria. These are two of my mainstay nutritive calming herbs. Because really, what does it come down to? Most of these herbs are band-aids. They can be helpful as part of a comprehensive program. They can be helpful for specific instances. But if the problem keeps coming back, you need to look at a deeper level. Let me give you an example. St. John's wort is an herb that most people hear about, know about. It is a calming herb. I put it in my list as calming herbs. However, I find that personally for me, St. John's wort doesn't really fit into the general calming herb box. I find that if I go and get some tincture or some capsules of some St. John's wort and use it for a muscle cramp, if I use it for stress-related illnesses, I find that it doesn't work for fear and anger like many of these other calming herbs. I find that it will in some people work this way. But in general, with St. John's wort, we're looking at more of a longer-term use, more of balancing the highs and lows. It's been quite popularized indeed because of some clinical trials that showed that St. John's wort was good for mild to moderate depression. This is great. And the way the history goes, it had to do with 2020, I believe it is, Barbara Walters. Barbara Walters did a show on St. John's wort and said, this is really good. It helps depression. Everybody should buy it. And the next day, almost everybody went out and bought it, and it was hard to find. And it became very, very popular, and everyone figured, well, I'll take St. John's wort, and my problems will go away. Barbara Walters said I should do it. And really what happened is some people got help with the St. John's wort, and some people it didn't help, and it fell out of fashion, and now there's some new herb taking its place. And this is great, I guess. It's great. I'm not so into the fat herbs. I don't think that there's one herb that everybody should take. However, it does prove something. Why is it that the St. John's wort didn't help everybody? Why is it that a calming herb why is it that everyone shouldn't be on calming herbs? Well, if you take a calming herb, it may help today's problem, but if today's problem comes back again and again, if everyone in society needs a calming herb, then there's a problem with society, not with the people. So ultimately, if you give a calming herb to somebody in the short run, but their problem keeps coming back, we need to look at the deeper underlying issues and see why this is happening. I like skullcap, scutellaria, and I like wild oats as a standard nutritive, long-term, take these plants every day for a long period of time. The rest of these herbs that I'm going to talk about are really band-aids, like valerian. Well, I like valerian. Valerian is an herb that I like. Not everyone does. Some people can't handle valerian. It doesn't work well for them. If you're going to try valerian, go ahead and try a little bit first and see how it feels in your body, because some people don't really handle it all that well. How would I say about valerian? Valerian has a very peculiar odor. as some of you may know. If you've gone ahead and bought some powdered valerian and taken a bag home and put it in your cabinet, you may indeed find that it smells kind of funky. However, animals do like that smell, like cats. I've found that cats like that smell. So if you've got some smelly valerian that's kind of old and you're not going to use anymore, maybe you want to give it to your cat. Of course, if we pick wild valerian and we leave it outside to process tomorrow, some of the neighborhood cats might indeed get into it. Or where we pick the valerian, we often have bobcats or cougars nearby. And we've seen that these animals like to dig around in the valerian and roll in it, which is quite interesting, since the plants in the wild seem to enjoy, the Valeriana sitchensis where I go, seems to enjoy some disturbance, and it seems to grow even better with disturbance. So to have these cats come and roll in this valerian seems to increase the health of the stands. Imagine yourself walking down a cobblestone street, and it's all foggy. Suddenly the fog begins to lift, and you see yourself in some kind of older European town. And here comes a man with a whole bunch of animals following him, and he's playing a pipe. Indeed, this is the Pied Piper of Hamelin, who, it's been said, secreted valerian on his person to get the animals to follow him.